Hi, this is Matt Kendall from IEMT Academy. Today we're here with Yolanda Flint, or Martin, as she got married. Now, Yolanda came to do IEMT training last year, so it's September 2020 now, and she came along last year. And again, it's just another of these client interviews to understand what it's really like to go through the IEMT training and then use IEMT with clients. And I always like to keep an eye on what my clients are using IEMT for, and Yolanda's been using it in a really interesting way, so I wanted to catch up with her today. So good morning, Yolanda. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm all right, thank you.
Excellent. I've got water. Look at that. Okay, so who are you? What's your background? Before IEMT, what was your sort of work? What were you doing?
So the majority of my work background was actually adult social care.
Okay.
20 years of that, mainly with the elderly, mainly. And then went into fitness, just teaching Zumba to start with. And then that progressed and I became a personal trainer, etc. And then, so I ended up sort of teaching women. Weight training was my main bag, really.
Okay, so you're teaching women weight training. Now, I've seen, just from being in the gym myself, a massive surge in women who lift weights. Because before, I think even 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't get anywhere near as many girls and women lifting weights as you do now. And I can remember, when I was talking to Mum about, she should lift some weights. My mum's she's now late 70s. I was saying you should lift some weights because it's better to have some muscle on you, when you're a bit older and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, I don't want to do like Arnold Schwarzenegger." I was like, I don't think you quite understand the training program and the nutrition and the dedication it was getting near him. So you started doing weight training and personal training, and how did you then discover IEMT?
Oddly enough, I went to a friend to have a massage, and he was like, "Your back muscles are so tight, it's nothing to do with your physical problem. I think it's emotional, you're holding emotion." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I better do something about that." So I just did. And I'd seen your interviews and posts on Facebook, and I'd seen that you were doing an event. I think it was called "Can You Erase Negative Memories" or something like that in Brighton.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow that had come up on my info. I don't know why. I think someone I knew was going to it or something. And so you were on my DAR, and that just happens, doesn't it? You just start orbiting people, but you don't really know what it's about yet. And then I just thought, I'm just going to contact him. That was it.
Fair enough. Did you come along to the talk I did, or? No, fair enough. So I used to do a lot of talks with a company called Funzing, and I used to come down to Brighton. I used to speak at, I think it's called Grand Union Central, Grand Union.
It was a party place, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, there's one, it's opposite the station, Grand Central, or the Grand Union or something. And then there's another one down by the actual sea.
That one, it was that one.
Oh, right, okay, so. I did that's like a little social club downstairs. It was quite fun. So you actually had sessions. Do you want to talk about what it was like to experience? Because did you know much about eye movement work or IEMT and stuff? Or?
No, I thought you were going to offer me hypnotherapy.
Right.
And you were like, "No, I do IEMT."
Fair enough.
I was like, "Fine, don't know what that is." You explained. Oh, you sent me loads of info on it, and then. I was just like, fine, I'm very sort of like, I don't really sort of worry about what I'm trying. I like to try things, even if they don't work. It doesn't matter, does it? You've got to try stuff if you want to progress, and overcome your issues. So I just thought I'll just give it a go.
And how was it? How was the results? What was the process of it like?
I had huge realizations as a result of my 2 sessions. Yes, so very unexpected. It's a very abstract thing, IEMT, isn't it? So it's very difficult to describe, but I always explain.
That's why I do these videos.
I know, it's difficult to explain and articulate beautifully in a really
Mm.
clear way. But yeah, I mean, it just did what it says. It dials down the strength of a negative emotion attached to a memory, basically, and that's the work we did, you know.
Mm.
But also in the identity work, which was the second session,
Yeah.
I had a huge epiphany about a particular emotion that I was experiencing that was really holding me back, and I had a moment where I just suddenly clicked about where that emotion originated from.
Yeah.
And that has really, you know, helped me moving forward. I now know if I get triggered by this thing, I know why it is, I know where it originates, and I've been able to do more work on that as a result.
Fabulous. Excellent. So you came to see me for 2 sessions,
Yeah.
and then you came to do the IEMT training.
Almost straight away.
It was very soon after, wasn't it? So it's a 2-day training. I'm going to be doing this online in future as well because of, you know, circumstances. And I think I'm going to break it down to 3 days when I do it online. I'm not sure yet. I'm still playing around with the content. So when you came to learn how to do it, what did you think of the actual structure, the material? Because it's 2 days, so there's lots of stuff going on in the room as well, you know, with people, you know, because most people have no idea what IEMT actually is or how it works until they get into the room and try it out. So basically, what was your experience of going through the training weekend like?
Well, there was a mixture of people there. There were people firmly from like hypnotherapy backgrounds or life coaching backgrounds who were like super confident and were just like, I'm here to acquire this skill, and I'm absolutely confident I will be applying it on Monday morning, you know, that kind of thing where you're like, whoa, they're really super confident. And then there was your average kind of people, average general public people who were just like, I want to learn this because perhaps they'd also had it done and they thought it was amazing. I don't know. So there's a big mix of people. Obviously, the way that you train is very relaxed. You do lots of, you know, sort of gentle sort of jokes spliced in everywhere to keep everybody kind of with it and like enjoying it, obviously, which is really nice. It's really, really practical, so you get to apply everything. So it's not just learn and having loads of stuff shoved down your throat. And it was broken up nicely, so you know we didn't feel like we were like falling asleep or anything. I thought it was great that we got to practice a lot. I thought that was really helpful. I think I was a bit naive. I was going to swear, but I'll use naive. In that I didn't write anything down, so I didn't make any notes, didn't go through the notes as you were talking. I just decided I was just going to listen to you, whereas everyone else was taking notes.
Fair enough.
But I still got it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it's like IEMT, this is an oxymoron, it's both simple and very complicated. It's, the IEMT training comprises of, we learn about these patterns of chronicity, so why people are staying stuck, and then it's essentially learning a suite of tools, so like 2 different eye movements for memories and emotions, 2 different eye movements for identity, a protocol for anxiety, a protocol for PTSD, and then the physical work, the psychological, the physiological state accessing cues. And essentially, when you're working with a client, you're using a mixture of these different tools and techniques. And I do provide, I don't know if you got these, basically the flow charts of how to work with clients in sessions. You did, okay, just wasn't quite sure when I introduced them. So I tried to make it as kind of straightforward as possible. So even people without any kind of therapy experience can actually then go and do these sessions and work with people and achieve results. So, you know, like I said, we do get a lot of hypnotherapists and counselors and therapists of all different manner who are like, right, shows this tool, I want to start using it, all the way through to, I've never worked with somebody before, where do I start? And, you know, I do try to cater, you know, for the whole range. So it's a 2-day weekend. Well, it was a 2-day weekend, that's how weekends work. Very sort of practical work. On the first day, we focus mainly on the emotional stuff. The second day, we focus more on the identity work. The thing which I'm really interested in is how you took IEMT, because I think what's really interesting is how you're now using it. Now, IEMT works really well by itself. What it's brilliant at is working with other things. Andy Austin once said to me, IEMT makes everything else work better. So you are a personal trainer, you're just working with people. First of all, let's talk about the case studies that you did. What was it like taking these tools from the training room to how you were working with people and working with using IEMT for the first time? What was that like?
It was relatively easy for me in terms of finding people to work with, because I run what I call boot camps.
Right.
Which means I do an 8-week course, which involves, they know when they're coming into it, it involves nutrition, weight training and mindset. That's how it's advertised. So they know they're coming into it, into a holistic program, which means they are going to be looking at their emotions.
Yeah.
So what I did was I just approached my graduates, as I call them, people who have done the course in the past, and just said, would anybody be happy to test this out with me so I can get my case studies done? And of course I had millions of volunteers, so that was easy. And those people I knew were already open to that kind of work because they'd already worked with me. So I knew that they would embrace it. In fact, they would want it, you know, get anything to help them again progress. So yeah, that was good. I had a lady who'd been really, really traumatized. She had near death experience and all sorts of stuff. And I was completely blown away by the very first eye movement I did on her. She just went like it was like a film or something. It was ridiculous, to be fair. She said all of the dark clouds had just instantly cleared over her.
Wow.
And she had like what you would call an epiphany. It was just like, you know, just an app. I mean, it was dramatic.
Yeah.
And I was like, are they all going to be like this?
Maybe not all, but you know, you do get some where it's. I always say with IEMT, the worse you are, the more I can help you. When I say worse, I mean what IEMT I find is not the best for is when somebody is just needs motivation, or they're just a little. They're just like, a bit sort of like what I call sort of wishy-washy, just like, I don't really know. When somebody's like, I was involved in this accident and my life's been really bad since, let's get to work. You know, so she did, so that was one, so you did a woman who was involved in an accident. And do you remember what your other case study was? What kind of work?
It was much more general stuff, you know, like you say, like more of that kind of the anxiety work, that kind of feelings of, you know, not being good enough, feelings of not being heard, those kind of more general public kind of stuff. Again though, absolutely brilliant. She absolutely loved it. We did the identity work, all of that, run through the whole thing. Both really, really great outcomes. I was delighted with both, and almost I think people were getting slightly annoyed with me because I was getting so enthusiastic about the therapy that a lot of the people I was working with were like, is she saying this is a cure or all, you know, because I was just like, this is so amazing. So I learned from that I have to be careful.
Yeah, with IEMT, we don't promise any results.
No.
And, you know, because a lot of NLP and a lot of hypnotherapy and stuff is very much like, oh, stop you smoking in an hour or I will fix this. With IEMT, it's like we say, it works with most of the people most of the time. And when it works, it tends to work very well.
Yeah.
So, but there are some people, I get the odd clients who, you know, I'm not really able to really sort of help. But because of my marketing and because of how I do my intake and stuff, I've got to, you know, I'm pretty good at picking the clients who I believe IEMT is going to be suitable for.
Yeah.
The stuff that IEMT is really suitable for is people who have been through trauma, and that can include going through like a breakup. People with really kind of negative self-image, which will come on, so I know that's a lot of stuff that you do. People who suffer from panic attacks and really bad anxiety, PTSD related work. So all of these things, and also identity related issues, because a lot of IEMT does look quite sensational, because you're doing these eye movements, you're doing a physical thing with somebody, and they're experiencing a tangible result. A lot of IEMT, especially the identity work, is much more gentle and introspective, and it allows you to see your identity from a different perspective. And when you change the way you look at something, the thing that you look at changes. And so when I first learned about IEMT, I didn't really care too much about the identity work. But now I understand just how important and powerful it is.
The identity work, if somebody is what I call it like dancing around their pain.
Yeah.
So it's there, they're refusing to acknowledge it, so they're doing a verbal dance, like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, they're not going to name it, not consciously. So we go into identity work where you're going into different corners of yourself.
Yeah.
Different parts where you're allowed to see yourself from a different angle, and suddenly it just comes out. Because it's almost like there's no longer that kind of, they don't feel that pressure to find the problem anymore. So that when they're released from that, it can just pop out and reveal itself.
Yeah, I understand. Let me ask you, as a personal trainer as well, have you noticed between the sessions how people physically change?
There's a massive thing which I can't prove, obviously, because I don't have the ability to do a scientific test.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that a lot of, especially women, I don't know, I work with women, so I'm just going to say especially women, tend to push a lot for what they think they want. And it leads to a very kind of tense, controlling type of a way of being. It's not even necessarily behavior, it's just I have to make things happen, rather than that kind of surrendering and standing back and maybe trusting life a little bit more. And generally women that are trying to lose weight are those types of people, because there's something already out of balance from within which is causing them to overeat, right? So or drink, actually. It's also a lot of alcohol consumption, because of there's so many calories come in via alcohol. Because people are winding down all the time, trying to de-stress. So what I've noticed is, as you do therapy with them, those parts of them that are super tense and super controlled and pushing against life suddenly start to collapse and stand down. And as they do, what I notice is not only do they physically start to work out better and connect with their physical being better, the weight starts to fly off them much faster, because they have relaxed from within themselves. And that's not something that you can do rationally with somebody. It has to be done through real change, rather than, and this is what I'm saying, you have to change in order to change. Right? Otherwise, you're trying to change without really changing at all. So it has to come from the inside of you, that change. It can't be forced, no matter willpower or pushing.
I completely agree. I think that if you need willpower for something, there's something wrong. Willpower is like trying to change the tide by changing the rudder kind of thing. It's really, and I get a lot of people who say, I want to be more motivated. I was like, well, if you're really having to psych yourself up for something, why is this a sort of a problem? And I often sort of give the analogy of it like being like the bullet train in Japan. It's like with a normal train, say motivation and like a train with, a normal British train, to get it moving takes a lot of power and a lot of momentum to kind of keep going. A bullet train is levitated off magnets, like about like half a centimeter. But it's frictionless. So when you move it, it goes, with barely any kind of like momentum or any kind of motivation or power. It just moves without any force. Absolutely. And this is what I find as well, men, because I tend to work with men predominantly. when they return, I've not recognized clients. They've been in the waiting room, so I share at a clinic, and I've sometimes not recognized somebody. And that's because their gait is different, their way of walking. They're much more open out their shoulders, their head's much higher. And also, what I have found is that when you've taken somebody who's been in a very dark place where they haven't liked themselves, and then they've started to really respect themselves, well, they started to look after themselves, they've started to work out a bit, they've maybe bought some new clothes, or just maybe wearing nicer clothes. And suddenly you take somebody who, first of all, when I first saw them, they were a mess and unshaven. I suppose that's everyone these days, but just unkept and just wearing like bad clothes and just like hunched over and not really wanting to interact with the world, to being at ease with themselves, being at ease in the world, and just being happy, relaxed, and sort of smiling and face up. And it's like, what's going on? I've had many counsellors contact me to ask if I prescribe them something. It's like, no, because I don't have that power to prescribe anything, and I haven't really, given them any life advice. I know that you're different in that sense because you obviously do training with them, but as you just mentioned there, because weight loss is the thing that you specialize in, and I've seen all your marketing stuff now. So how has IEMT fitted into your business? How has it changed it, improved it? What's the client results been like incorporating IEMT into your boot camps?
Well, I mean, the most common thing that my graduates describe the bootcamp as is life-changing. So if that doesn't say it, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
It changes them, but not obviously in a bad way. And they all come out of it saying they feel like they went into it absolutely focused on being thinner, and that once they were thinner, everything would be better.
Oh, I will be happy when.
Yeah. Thinner equals better, happier, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they all, when they come out, say the mindset section, because I do mindset as well with them.
Yeah.
That includes the IEMT, is the bit that was the most valuable, hands down. So they completely flip over those 8 weeks, and that's 8 weeks, not even a long time.
Yeah.
And they understand that, this is your circuit board, this is sending the instructions, and then everything else will balance out accordingly once this is balanced, not the other way around, which is what we were just saying.
Yeah.
And so and I do get people who have traumatized, in those groups, and also people that, like we said, just got general issues. But it doesn't matter, they all benefit. I haven't found anyone who has said they have not benefited from IEMT, in some kind of life-changing way. So, and the other thing I want to say, which is really important to me, is that they mostly have children.
Right, okay.
And so their ability to connect with their children is vastly improved as a result.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of them report that they're less angry, less short-tempered, and just able to better connect with their children on a level once they've finished, which means is that loving connection has reached a deeper level than it was before. And that for me is everything, because then you're passing a chain.
Of course. Can I ask, most of your people who come to you, are they in relationships or single, and has it affected their relationships as well?
Yeah. I've had gentlemen come up to me in coffee shops and thank me.
Wow.
For bringing their partners into a happier place.
Wow, that's amazing.
Women that have wanted to get pregnant have not been able to prior to boot camp, and then after the IEMT have. I've
heard this quite obviously. We're not making any medical claims here. The IEMT fertility clinic, but I've spoken to. I actually spoke to a doctor who specialised in fertility, and he was IVF, and he was saying that one of the main reasons why people aren't able to get pregnant is the stress and the cortisol in your body. And when you are on a more regardless of what you do to achieve that, it could be physical exercise, meditation, IEMT. when the body is more relaxed, provides a better environment for the conception to take place, essentially.
That's
So
essentially what we're helping people do with
yeah,
IEMT, is come out of a sympathetic nervous system state where you're in fight, flight, or freeze
yeah,
too often,
mm,
and into parasympathetic rest and recovery,
yeah,
where you're able to actually be in yourself, and
cool.
all your bodily functions are better, and you get better sleep. So it all
Yeah.
ties in. It all ties in. Without it, like you say, you're just using willpower and force, and that is
Mm.
exhausting.
And what I found as well, especially in the coaching arena, is that say you have a big problem, what they're trying to do is fight this big problem by making you feel empowered, powerful, installing powerful beliefs and all that. An IEMT is like big problem, right? Let's just minimize, let's just bring the problem down. So there isn't this internal fight.
No.
With like things like affirmations, if you're having to say things to yourself in the mirror in the morning, well,
there are no weeds in the garden.
Yeah, exactly.
There are weeds in the garden.
Yeah, and
There always going to be.
You're just trying to sort of deny how you actually feel.
Yeah.
And I will often say to people, do you do affirmations? And because what I'm trying to find out is why. Because by saying that affirmation, what does that allow them to avoid feeling, or believing? Because that's what I'm then going to work on.
Yes.
Because if they didn't feel the inverse, you wouldn't have to do
exactly
the outer. We're going to bring this to a close in just a few minutes. This has been really fascinating, really fascinating. Can I just ask, out of all the people that you've worked with using the mindset training, along with your personal training, your coaching, your program, do you have any particular standout clients or stories that you'd like to share? Like some of your proudest or like the biggest changes that you've experienced and witnessed?
Yeah, I mean, there was one on the last boot camp. She actually had, I mean, it was dramatic, like you say. She'd been held up at knife point at
Wow.
work. And so normally I leave it to the end to do IEMT once they've had a chance to work out what it is they want to work on.
Yeah.
But with her, I didn't. I just got straight in touch and said, right, you're ready, let's go. And we did I did one session, literally one, and it cleared the whole lot. We did, she identified the key, what they called the
linchpin.
The linchpin moment.
Yeah.
And she had 3 actually.
Oh, okay, that can happen. Yeah.
But we did the first 2, and it cleared the 3rd one, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. So undid it, and she was. I mean, all her family keep approaching her and saying, "Are you okay?" Because she has changed so much. She never felt safe. She was very short-tempered. Just so much. She's done me a huge video testimonial.
Oh, excellent. I'll link to that below as well, actually.
So, yes, she was, but there are loads where that came from as well. It's just one example.
No, that's amazing. And so the important thing is here really is because I'm going to be showing this to personal trainers. And now a lot of personal trainers, they will often try and do mindset stuff, but they've got no real training in mindset. So how do you think that it would benefit personal trainers and those working maybe just nutrition or that's it? How do you think that learning IEMT would benefit their client work?
Oh, endlessly. I mean, when somebody's trying to diet, they're triggered off in terms of, survival instinct kicks in and gets in a right panic when you're dieting, obviously, because you're emptying out fat cells from your body, you're losing energy. So you, within a week, 2 weeks, you are all over the show. Anything that's buried is up and screaming at you when you're dieting. So, I see that on repeat. So yes, for dieting, it's an absolute must. And I think the thing, watching for personal trainers for years in gyms, because I don't do one-to-one personal training, because people end up, I only do groups, because people are talking more than they do exercising.
Yes.
And that drove me mad. I just was like, no, that's not what I'm here for. It's either you're doing therapy or you're doing exercise. The two can't be happening at the same time. So I think, yes, if they can split it, and let's have you fully focused on your body when you're exercising, but you can't get into your body until you can get out of your head, right?
Yeah.
So yes, of course, it's all linked. So yeah, it's going to be endlessly beneficial to them.
Excellent. If people are interested in doing your course, is it exclusively for women or is it just mainly women?
No, just designing a men's one at the moment, actually. So yes, I have just taken on my first male client, which is very exciting. But yeah, it's I can send you the link to.
Yeah, I will put, if you mention it as well, I'll also link below as well. But what's your website or social media handles?
My business is called Team Yo, so Team YO, Yolanda, and my my Facebook's called that as well, and then the actual course is called the Transformation Bootcamp.
Well, there you go. It's very aptly named. Anything else you want to add or mention? Any other things from the IEMT training world?
Thinking about doing IEMT training, I think just go for it. When I left the IEMT training, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this on my own. I was really unsure. And that was no reflection on you or your training. It was literally just, you know, you've learned something for 2 days and you're like, whoa, can I apply this? But I just didn't worry about it being perfect.
Yeah.
And I did what you said and practiced on people for free until I felt like I could justify doing a good enough job to earn the money. And so yeah, that's just my piece of advice, I think, to anyone who wants to do your training.
Thanks. Yeah, because I actually, as you know, I've got a Facebook group, and I regularly do Facebook Lives and interviews. And if somebody has a question in there, what I tend to do is I tend to do a video response to it.
Yeah, you're on it straight away.
Yeah, like within 10 minutes usually. Lots of people send me emails, which I don't mind, but what I found, I was getting the same questions. So when somebody emails me now, I'll be like, I'll give you a bit of an answer, but what I'd really like you to do is to put this in the group. Sometimes they're not in the group or they're not on Facebook, so I'll just send them an answer. But generally, if somebody's having a problem, somebody else is having the problem as well. So I'd like to get the response in there. In fact, one of my latest videos was somebody was asking, can you do fears and phobias online? And I was like, yeah, and this is how I would. And then there was another one about insomnia, how you'd work with insomnia. So I wrote quite a big, I couldn't, where I was, do a video, so I'll probably do a video for it. So I am here to offer help and support. So when you do the IEMT training, it's an in-person 2 days hands-on, or I think it will be 3 days online. But when I do them online, it'll be on Zoom. There'll be breakout rooms, so you will still be doing the exercises, and I'll be giving you help and guidance. I'll be going between the rooms when you need it. It won't be as long every day because I think it's going to be more intensive online to actually do. I'll find out, I suppose, you know, as we do it. And then you actually go and work with 2 people who you find, and you do, and I'll show you exactly how to do the write-up, the review, you know, the write-up even. And then you're able to join the association, get your badges, you get the certificate, and you get your CPD certificates and everything as well. And then you are part of a community because there are the official IEMT groups, and there's some great trainers in there who are always giving content. I've got my own group, the IEMT Academy group or IEMT Support. I can't remember the one. It's all under my name anyway. And I'm there all the time to help you. And it's a very sort of, you'll find that when you ask a question in the group, I will give you my answer. We'll also get half a dozen other people saying what their answer is. And it's not a competitive thing of, well, you should do that. No, it's like, well, I recommend trying, you know, it's a very sort of helpful, and nobody's going to laugh at you for not knowing or saying something. No, I'd just kick them out of the group or take them off anyway. It's a very supportive kind of community in that sense, because we all know just how great IEMT is and its potential, especially combined with things like personal training or counseling, or, you know, we've had even people, we had on, I don't know if it was on yours, but we had somebody who was a physiotherapist, and she said that half the battle is the mental scars of the problem. So if she's working with somebody who's fallen off a horse, been in a car crash, or whatever it might be, yes, you can get the body, the skeletal muscles working again. But if they're holding all this mental stuff from whatever happened, then they're never going to fully commit to the exercises or to healing. So by doing the body and mind, she says her results are just, I'm going to do an interview with her as well. She was, you know, an NH, and hopefully she's talking to about the NHS with it as well, because that's what we'd love to eventually do. Because we all know just how great IEMT is. So it is a very, very supportive community. Even amongst the trainers, we share resources and we share things. You may have seen Mavis did some really good plans of things in the group recently, which are very good. And I actually give you a breakdown of how to identify these patterns and how to work with a client. When you were working with your first clients, did you have your notes out in front of you and like a plan and everything, like going through the structures? Yeah. And when you do it now, do you still have any of that, or is it just completely?
Occasionally, if I know there's a specific thing I need to work on that perhaps I'm a bit rusty on, then yeah, I'm going to swat up for a bit. But
it's a very intuitive way of working, though, isn't it? Yeah. So once you understand the flow of stuff, I always think about this: get rid of the emotions before you do the identity. Just tends to work really well that way. So get rid of the stuff that's stopping them, and when we say identity, the identity stuff's fascinating because it allows somebody to mature to who they are today, rather than the person that they were and responding to certain triggers and people and stuff like that. So cool. Thank you so much for your time. If you want to contact you, it's Team Yo is your handles. I will put the links and stuff below. I will see you. We're going to be doing an IEMT summit at some point.
Woo.
So yeah, and hopefully in the future, when the world is back to relative norms, I will be coming to Brighton again, because I love speaking in Brighton. So I might even arrange my own speaking gigs down there, because I do love coming to speak down there. You might even make it along this time.
I will.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.